Hi everyone, it's Mrs. Wine. Welcome back to art class. Today is day 4 of our Georgia O'Keeffe project. And our learning target today says, I will blend either warm or cool colors on my flower petals and center using oil pastels. So today I will be showing you, demonstrating the technique of blending. Before we start, you need to make sure that you've gathered all of your supplies. You need your Georgia O'Keeffe flower drawing from last week. Now, if I hold it up very closely, you can see my details, and you can see how I cropped the edges of my petals on the side of the page. You can also tell I pressed very, very softly with my pencil because you can barely see my pencil lines. You will also need a piece of brown craft paper to keep your work area clean. Fold the brown craft paper in half and then open it up and place it underneath your drawing. That'll help make sure you don't get any oil pastel on the table. An oil pastel is the material that we're going to be using today. You're going to be using either one of two different brands. You could be using Craypas, in which case all you have to do to open them is slide them out of the container. Or you might be using a brand name called Portfolio Pastels. With the Portfolio Pastels, you have to open the box from the back. Then the box opens like a book. And from there, you just slide the different colors out from both ends. Now, if we go back to our learning target, it says that we're going to be blending. But before I can demonstrate the technique of blending, we have to review what are the warm and what are the cool colors. Warm colors are the colors red, orange, and violet. This might also include the color pink, because pink is simply a light red. So one choice would be to make your flower warm colors. Here's another example. The other choice would be cool colors. The cool colors are blue, green, and violet. It doesn't matter what the color of the flower was in your photo. You could make it any color you want, as long as you're either sticking with warm colors or cool colors. So once you have made that decision, a good idea might be to go ahead and pull out the colors that you want to use. So I think today that I will use some warm colors. So I'm going to find my reds, my oranges, my yellows. I could find a pink. And because white is a neutral color, I can also use the white. It's a great color to blend with. If the colors are a little bit dirty, you can take a paper towel and you can just wrap the paper towel around the colors and twist them to clean them off. But I'm lucky, my colors are pretty clean today, so I don't have that problem. And then you just have to decide what colors you want to use. Now, because our goal today is blending, blending means mixing different colors together. So I think for this one, I want my petal or my petals to be mostly yellow. But in with that yellow, I'm going to mix some oranges. And I'm going to demonstrate to you just on one petal. I think closer to the center of the petal, I'm going to have that be just the plain yellow. So I'm going to go around my center details. And then I want to use a nice soft pressure. I want to make sure I'm working one petal at a time. And I'm just going to start by coloring most of that petal yellow. Even though I want all the petals to be yellow, it's super important that I don't just color across the whole flower. I'm just working with that one petal at a time. And then maybe as this petal starts to get out toward the edge, if I think about those Georgia O'Keeffe flowers that I looked at, I might want to start to add in a little bit of that orange. And I'm not pressing really hard. I'm pressing kind of soft, a light medium pressure. And then once I have most of that petal colored, now I'm going to look at the two oranges I picked. Which one is closest to yellow? I think that this one looks a little more like yellow. So now I'm going to pick up this color, and now's when I'm going to start the overlapping part. I'm going to put this yellowish orange right on top of that other yellow. Well, this is a nice golden color. Now I'm sort of blending those two together. Maybe I get out here toward my edge. That's where I'm going to slow down just a little bit. Try to stay inside those lines that I drew. And I can go back into that yellow and really overlap this other color. And then right out towards the tip, I want it to get a little bit more orange. So now I'm going to come back in. I'm going to add just a little bit of that brighter orange at the tip. And sometimes when I'm blending, I even have to go back. So I don't want it to jump too much from one color to another. I color really softly. I can come back in, and this is when I'm really going to start to see the blending. So now I'm coming back in with that sort of medium golden color, and I can really start to blend those colors together. Another thing I can always do is I can take that white down here where the yellow was just plain. If I just need another layer of color, or white is a nice color that helps me blend sometimes, I can add in a little bit of that. I want to keep working on just that one petal until I'm satisfied with how it looks. Once I'm satisfied and I've got my color blended, then I can go on to the next petal. Now I will tell you one trick that Georgia O'Keeffe used is when you remember her work, if I think about one petal being on top of another petal, I know that when something is on top of something, you can kind of see with my hands, it creates a little bit of a shadow. But rather than create that shadow with a gray or a black, which would be way too dark for oil pastels, one trick that I can use is I can use those darker colors for that shadow. So again, I'm starting with the yellow. I know I want this petal to be more yellow on the inside. And I'm not going to do this whole petal for you. I'm just going to do the beginning part. So I'm working on this one petal, but I know the first petal that I did overlaps that second petal. And I definitely don't want my pencil line to be standing out. So one thing that I can do is I can start to use these darker colors to sort of create the shadow. So maybe I start to create that shadow with kind of this gold color that I'm going to be using out towards the edge of my petal. Or maybe I can even come in a little bit with that darker orange, and I can use that darker orange really just to create that shadow. So maybe there's just a little line where that shadow is. And then I can go back to that golden color. So now instead of that shadow being a dark gray, which would take away from my colors, I can use the oil pastels to create that shadow on my flower. Same thing up here where one petal is folded over. I might want to create that shadow on the inside. So I'll start with that golden color. And if I need that shadow to be just a little darker, I can come in with that brighter orange, just a little bit, to start to create that shadow. And again, sometimes it takes a while. I might be working with one petal for quite a while, trying to get it to look just right. And I'll just continue to work my way around with the rest of the petals. You can kind of see where I did the same thing here with the cool colors. Notice it's the darker purples and blue over top of a lighter color. And it goes from the bluish purple to the purple, blending in with the white at the end. And you can see the same thing with the greens. It starts off with a lighter green, more of a yellow green, and then the darker green added around the edges. I hope you have a wonderful week. When you're finished, don't forget we have to put things away properly. That means every pastel goes back in its slot. That means you're then going to slide the pastels back into the box. They slide in just like a dresser drawer. If you have the portfolio pastels, you also have to close them over and then fold the flaps in. Also, before you put your drawing away today, you're going to take the craft paper and fold it over your drawing so that the oil pastel does not get all over everything inside your portfolio. I hope you have a wonderful week. And until next time, keep on creating.